You are here with By the Cover. Today I'm going to be reviewing The Shining by Stephen King. This book was 659 pages and took me 4 days to read. I would rate this a 7.5 out of 10. This review may contain spoilers, so if you do not want to hear those, click off now. The synopsis: a gothic horror novel about Jack Torrance, a recovering alcoholic and writer who takes a job as a winter caretaker of the isolated Overlook Hotel in Colorado. He moves in with his wife Wendy and their young boy Danny. Danny possesses psychic abilities known as the Shining. The hotel's malevolent spirits influence Jack, driving him into madness and a violent obsession with killing his family. I watched the movie first and then read the book. In my opinion, it probably would have been far better if I had read the book and then watched the movie. I will say that I did not enjoy the book as much as the movie. There are just so many iconic things that happen in the movie that don't happen in the book. Reading the book by comparison is quite a bit more boring. But as far as my likes with the book, I absolutely loved Halloran's character far more than in the movie. I also loved Wendy and Danny's character far more than in the movie. I found them very annoying in the movie. That is not the actor's fault, that's just the way that it was written. I think the actors did a great job. Overall, the book does a much better job with those characters. I love how Danny's power is explored little by little. I thought Jack was an interesting character. I love some of his dialogue and also being inside his head and seeing what happened to him as a kid. I just loved the bar scene with him and Lloyd. Anytime that him and Lloyd were together, I thought was great. I also like how Stephen King had Jack dipping his toe into insanity and then recovering from that. He did this multiple times. I really liked the chapter where Jack returns to room 17 and George is in the tub tormenting him. I thought the elevator scene was awesome. I liked Jack's turnaround at the end, which doesn't happen in the movie. Jack's overall descent into madness I enjoyed, and I also liked the fact that Halloran survives at the end of this book, which was also different than the movie. As far as my dislikes go, it was a very, very slow start to this book. Not really surprising for Stephen King books. He has this issue where he likes to really embed you in the world and the characters, and he takes the first 100 pages of this book to do that. You don't get to the Overlook Hotel until about page 100. I thought we spent too much time on the Overlook's history. I would have rather have spent that time in the present dealing with things that were happening today. The book also did multiple perspectives from different points of view, and sometimes this can be used to great effect. But if you're just retelling the same story 3 different times with slightly different points of view, it can get boring. Another thing I didn't like is when Danny tries to explain what is going on, the parents can't really contradict anything that he is saying. Jack even sees things that Danny is describing, but yet they ignore him, and they ignore the things that he tells them, and they just go back to being ignorant about the situation, and it gets worse from there. It just doesn't make logical sense to me that if your kid's trying to tell you something, you can't contradict what they're saying, and certain things are corroborated. The natural human instinct would not be to completely ignore him and go back to whatever you were doing previously. And the other thing I really didn't like in this one was when Halloran gets the call from Danny to come back. We follow Halloran all the way from where he's vacationing, clear back to the Overlook Hotel. I think all of that is wasted pages. So overall, one of the biggest weaknesses of this story, I think, is the pacing. It was way too slow in my opinion. It also didn't have very big emotional impact because, one, I already know it ends badly, and two, Jack is just not a super sympathetic character. He's kind of a dick, and so rooting for him or caring what happens to him is kind of out of the cards. Overall, I think this was a decent read. I don't think it's one of Stephen King's stronger books. I actually find it surprising that so many people put this as their number 1 book of his. I think it has far too many weaknesses to really be in even the top 10 for me. So that's about it. We'll catch you later.